Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal. And I just want to tell you that today we're going to be talking about how people manipulate us and how to put a stop to it. And we're going to talk different types of manipulation, and hopefully it will help quite a few of you. This came about because one of the viewers wrote to me and asked me to talk a little bit about this. So if you have a subject that you'd like me to talk about, know that not only do we appreciate it, but it helps so many people. Because one of the things you will get to learn is you're not the only one, right? You're not the only one struggling with this. And maybe I'm not the only one struggling with bad hair today. What do you think? Oh, by the way, yesterday it was a beautiful day. I was out without a jacket on or anything in winter. This morning, you can't see it, but oh, maybe you can. Can you see the snow on the tree out there? Welcome to British Columbia. Okay, so hi to Kimmy and hi to Jody. And first of all, I do want to acknowledge the fact that today's broadcast comes to you thanks to a lot of research done by Jody. She knew I had a particularly busy day yesterday, and she offered to do some research for me on this subject because I knew that's one of the ones we said we would talk about. And Jody, you did an awesome job. I just want to tell you that if you were ever wondered, was this helpful to me? I cannot tell you how helpful it was. And, I know Lauren was in there as well. So thank you both so much for supporting me. I may need your help a little bit more during the next month. And by the way, with the snow outside, this is the week I start moving. Anyway, never mind. So for those of you who are new to the broadcast, let me explain. We're like an extended family of people, and we try to talk about real things. All right. We're not about perfection or anything like that. So anytime anything is happening, oh, and I have allergies, you need to know that as well. But anytime anything is happening to one of our team, if you like, we talk about it. And, because helping one will help many. And this subject, I'm pretty sure we've all experienced and we've all wanted to put a stop to it. And I must admit that I don't think we can talk about this one too much. All right, so Jody is saying, thank you for the opportunity to be part of it. And I welcome the chance to partake in future planning. Well, you see, Jody, you have now learned something about my my delegation style. All right. Now, for those of you who don't know, about 2 weeks ago, I said to Jody, I think I'm going to, if you would like, I'm going to teach you how to use Google Slides because that's where I do the main format for my broadcasts. And I said, but actually what I wanted her to do was to see if she could play with it and learn how to work within it. So we could do mini versions of our broadcasts. Anyway, I just dropped it on her lap and just, because I know if she's interested, she'll go and have a look. And then the funny thing was that yesterday I said, okay, I really could do with some help. If this is what I would like. Can you do some research for me on this, this, and this, and just chuck it into that format for me? And didn't tell her how to do it. Didn't tell her, what sort of things I wanted. You see, I know Jody well enough to know she's a smart cookie. And she knows what I do every week and how I do it. So she also knows roughly what I'm looking for. Jody, absolutely 100% exactly what I needed. And, with tears in my eyes, how can I thank you? I just, when I looked at the stuff, it took me a while to find it because all the new stuff was at the bottom and I was expecting to see it at the top. So the first 3 times I went to look for it, I'm going, nothing there. And then eventually I scrolled down and found it all. So, and I was just so impressed that you had worked it out. And not that I was surprised, I was impressed. right? There's a difference in that. It's like, yep, got a feeling Jody was be a natural on this one, and so would Lauren, right? Because they're both creative people, and they also understand how I think. Um, Jody's saying, "Ah, thanks, Al. Such a pleasure. Glad it was helpful, and I'll put it in the correct place next time." No, it's just like, or tell me that it's all at the bottom. That would have been helpful. So, but the thing is, Jody, how do you feel about having learned something new? And we are getting onto the manipulation right now. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for Jody's answer, please, if you're watching this for the first time, feel free to join us. It's that piece of hair, right? To join in. You don't need to comment. If you feel like commenting, go right ahead. And I'll probably ask you a couple of times, is it okay for me to repeat what you're saying? Because the people who are regulars know that I will repeat it for the people that I know really well, because they know not to put up anything that they don't want to be on the rebroadcast. And that's really important. So feel free to join us. And the other thing I would say at this point is, if you would care to find out when we're doing more broadcasts, in other words, if this broadcast is helpful to you and you would like to do more of them, then please make sure you follow us on Facebook. That's where I put up the warning signs to tell you, you got half an hour before the next broadcast. Grab your coffee or whatever you want. Or a notepad might be a good idea for the skills session. And we do 3 broadcasts a week. This one is called the skills session, where we try to learn something. The Friday evening one, which is at 7 p.m. Pacific, is our smile time, where we try to laugh at ourselves a little bit. And then on Sunday afternoons, we do what we call the Soul Sunday broadcast. Now, Jody, perhaps you could make a note for me to remember that I could well be moving on Sunday, in which case, if I arrive at the new place and there is no internet, there will not be a broadcast. Okay. So Jody is saying, by trying outside her comfort zone, which was to try a new program, she said, my confidence increased and I was so pleased to be part of the additional aspect of the broadcast. It was a goal of mine to be able to help plan a broadcast. Well, what a pity you never told me that, Jody. If I had known that was a goal of yours, I could have delegated this to you a long time ago. And we could have made an even better team. So, and thank you, Kimmy. Kimmy's saying she's so excited for me. Kimmy, I'm going a little bit insane. I've reached that point of insanity. And I just want to tell you that yesterday, I thought I had lost it. I don't mind telling you, there was a moment yesterday where the wheels came off my train. Do you know that feeling? Where you're going, I've been pretty under control up until now, but right now, I felt like a 2-year-old, having a temper tantrum inside. Luckily I didn't punish anybody, but I got close to punishing somebody, but I didn't punish anybody because that would have been my bad behavior. But, I got a little snippy at one point, but politely. I was quite impressed at how polite I remained. And I'll tell you a bit more about that at the end of the broadcast if we've got time. So today we're going to be talking about manipulation. I'm going to talk about, there are different sorts of manipulation, right? There's the blackmail type, which I'm going to be talking about. And then there's the, we'll go into them. Let me just go right ahead and you're going to see them all anyway. But before we do, I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of things. I am not sure when Beth is going in for her next procedure. But I know it's in January and I haven't had an update. So Beth, if you are listening to this or whatever, and I know that you haven't been well and you've had the flu, but if you are going in soon, and please let me know so I can put up some thoughts and prayers for you, or don't, and but just understand we're still thinking of you. All right. So the other thing is we've got 2 birthdays coming up towards the end of the month. We've got Erin's on the 26th, and we've got Becca's on the 28th. Now, we're trying to put together a new list of birthdays. So if you've got a birthday in January and we haven't acknowledged it, please let us know so that we can add it to our new list. All right. So let us go right ahead. Before we talk about manipulation, I thought, as usual, we'd like to get an official definition of what it is. All right? What is manipulation? And the Webster Dictionary says it is to control or to play upon by artful, unfair, and insidious means, especially to one's own advantage. Now, the reason that I wanted to make sure we got that word unfair or insidious is nasty, all right, or nasty means, is because we all manipulate, all right? If you're a parent, you manipulate your children. I'm sure you can see that, to put their toys away or to go to bed or, to eat their greens or whatever it is. We all manipulate. If you are in love, believe you me, you manipulate. If you are married, you manipulate. Teachers manipulate, and so do I. And so to me, what I want you to see is there are 2 sorts of manipulation. One is for the good. If I'm teaching you something, I am hopefully changing your mind on something or getting you to see a new perspective. That's manipulating your mind by adding more information. Do you get my point? But that is not bad manipulation. What we're talking about are the negative ones. Oh, I don't know about that. Kimmy's saying like that kid in the news that manipulated the teacher in the news. You want to give me some more words around that one because I missed that one. Interesting. All right, so you understand that there are good and bad ways to this. So a salesperson, if you like, is a manipulator. And I always remember when I was doing sales of any sort, somebody said that to me once, "You're a master manipulator." And I got quite upset about that. And then I said, well, um, I see that as a skill, not as a negative. Giving you information that will help you save money to me is a skill, not, it's not a negative. But if I am only trying to sell you something so I can get commission, that's a manipulation. But if I'm trying to sell you something because I genuinely think it is going to help you, it comes from a different place. And by the way, when I was in sales, it was one of the things that my clients always said to me was that I really did concentrate on making sure that they got more information and made a better decision rather than sell them something. So, and I can remember once actually going to a sales presentation on a major client, really, really big client. And I was in the advertising business. And I did a whole presentation. And throughout the whole presentation, I blocked out certain words along the way. It was like redacted. If you notice that word in the news a lot, where they put a black line through certain words that they don't want you to see. So I redacted all sorts of bits of the presentation. And I got all the way to close to the end before the client said, "Okay, what are the black bits?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry about those." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "They're just the prices and how much money you could save. But I know that you don't want to save money because that's why you are doing what you're presently doing with your ad campaign. So that information isn't relevant to you right now." And the guy just looked at me and burst out laughing and said, "Oh, that's good. I like that." He said, "Get rid of the black. Let's see what we're talking about here." And Jess said, "Okay, if you insist." Hi, Amber. Good to see you. Anyway, so, if you insist, and I literally took the second set of the presentation because I had one set that had it all blacked out and another set that didn't. And I started to show him how much money he was going to save. Was that a manipulation? You bet it was. But it was for his benefit. And by the way, two things happened after that presentation. Number one, he went back and fired his previous advertising agency. And number two, he gave me the contract. And actually, three, we made a lot of money. And so did he. So it was a win-win, and that's important to know. So understand, it is to control or play upon by artful, that's a skill, uh, unfair, that's when it's manipulation is a negative, right? It's when it's unfair or nasty. Right. Now I've got some examples for you because I thought that's what you would like. How many of you remember that in the last year, the CEO of Amazon, Bezos, was blackmailed? Do any of you remember that? So actually, they tried to extort money off him. Yeah, he's the richest man in the world, and they said, unless you pay us multi-millions, we will expose photographs that we have of you and your mistress. All right. Now, Bezos could have played their game and paid them the multi-millions, but Bezos did the opposite. And he put a stop to it. And he also sent a warning to anybody else who was going to try it. Number one, he personally published the pictures that they were talking about. He put them out into the media and said, I am exposing these pictures because somebody is extorting me with these pictures. And I just want them to know up this. He ended up in divorce that cost him multi-millions anyway. So the truth is, if you don't want to be blackmailed, and this is something I really want you to think about, if you don't want to be blackmailed, don't do anything that makes blackmail a possibility. How many of you can see the logic of that one? Right? I always remember one time in a leadership course that I was organizing, I brought in the person I considered to be the most ethical business person I knew. And he said to us that day, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. He said, never ever do anything that you do not want to see on the front page of tomorrow's newspaper. Or maybe it's on the Twitter feed tomorrow, in today's world. Um, and I thought, that's such a good benchmark. Don't do anything that you would be embarrassed about if it ended up on the front page of the news. And that also will stop you from ever being blackmailed by anybody. So blackmail is if you don't do or give us, boom, we will do that. Now, there are lesser forms of it, and we're going to be talking about that. But first, Kimmy's giving me that information that she was saying about the kid and the teacher. She said the kid was told to turn down his music on his computer in class, and he did not turn it down. So the teacher went to turn it down, and the kid pushed his hand out of the way, and the teacher removed from class and had him removed from class. And the teacher is in trouble now. They removed the teacher and suspended him and is being investigated. Okay, let me understand that. What did he get suspended for? Oh, allergies. He didn't turn it down, so the teacher went to turn it down. Huh. I think, to me, that's interesting. First of all, why did he have a computer in the class? And secondly, yeah, that completely, I've got to look that one up. Jody, could you make a note? I need to find out more about that. Thanks, Kimmy. That sounds interesting. I'm obviously missing part of it because it's not. He removed the kid from the class. Yes. If I've given you an instruction. If you choose not to obey it, that's your right, but you don't get to stay in the class. Yeah. And he's being suspended or the teacher is? Well, really, I don't know about you guys, but I'm beginning to think that we have less and less in the way of consequences these days. The teacher got into trouble for removing him from the class, really. Thank you, Kimmy. Got it. Okay. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm going to have a little vent here. But I think we are having less and less consequences for our young people. And, if you don't have consequences, then you don't have discipline. And if you don't have discipline, you don't have manners. If you don't have manners, then your society gets degraded, in my view. And I have had my little vent. Okay. So if we think about the Bezos thing, and in terms of if you don't pay us multi-millions, we will expose these pictures. Um, we've known that's happened a lot, to famous people, right? Movie stars have it happen all the time, where some paparazzi with a super duper telephoto lens gets to take a picture of you in a position, compromised position that you wouldn't want to have on the internet, and they make millions out of it. But the truth is, I think Bezos was right. Let me publish the picture and warn everybody else, don't bother to come after me because I'm not paying you. I think Bezos sent a very strong message. And that really is what I wanted to talk to you about. He put down a boundary. He said, I am prepared to publish these pictures, lose my wife and multi-millions to not let you get away with this. And I think that's a pretty strong boundary. Now, I'm pretty certain that his wife, I think it was Mackenzie and something like that. Anyway, his wife, ended up with multi millions. Um, but it's like, no, you don't get to do that to me for free, right? So, what about the guilt trip? How many of you have had the guilt trip down on you? And this is one that Jody reminded me of, right? How about this? They ask you to do something, and you say, "Gee, I normally would say yes, but I'm sorry. This time I need to say no." And their reply to you is, "I thought we were friends." How many of you can hear the guilt trip there? This is either you do what I asked you to do, or else I don't see you as a friend. Is a blackmail of type. It's a guilt trip, blackmail. Hang on a second. I just see that Kimmy's putting up a comment about the kids. She said kids are out of control nowadays. No one can discipline them because you may get into trouble. I have been there with my granddaughter. Yeah, I know you have. But it is society today, and as I said, the boundary you have is called your front door, and I would keep that front door well and truly locked to any child that disses you the way that your grandchild did. It's like, sorry, you don't get to have granny rights when you treat me like that. How about the manipulation, the guilt trip, if you like, of I can't believe how selfish you are. Can you see where that is? You didn't say yes, that makes you selfish. Yeah, Jody's saying, right? That really irks me, says Jody. she has that obviously hit a spot with her, right? She says, such an emotional manipulation that can pull at the heartstrings. I thought we were friends. Yeah. And you know what? How do you counter that? All right. So I'm going to go through a couple of these and then I'll tell you how I would counter it. Not that I'm perfect, but just give you some ideas and maybe we can find out what you would say. And if you've got any better ones, let's share them. The next one was, I've always been there for you, and now you can't even lift a finger to help me. Yeah, I've had somebody say that one to me. Or how about when charities phone you and say, Don't you want to donate money to help the starving children in Africa? Can you hear the manipulation in there? Hi, Aaron. Can you hear the manipulation? So here's my here's some options. All right. If somebody said to me, "Will you come and do X, Y, Z?" and I says, "Gee, sorry, I can't. I'm busy." And they said, "Oh, I thought we were friends." I would say, "Yeah, so did I." Are you telling me that because I have another engagement on Sunday, that I am not your friend anymore? You see, I wouldn't take it on. I would bounce it straight back. How many of you can see that, right? This is like, wow. Let me make sure I understand you there. Because I said no, are you telling me that I am not a friend anymore? Because I have a prior engagement and I cannot stop my world just to please you? Is that what you're saying? Because, that isn't my definition of friend. My definition of friend is that we support one another. So please stop manipulating me. I would call it for what it is, people. I do it. I do it regularly. Actually, I don't do it regularly with my friends because I don't have friends who manipulate me. But occasionally, I'll meet somebody new and they will try it on, and I will explain to them that doesn't work very well with me. How about I thought I could count on you? The answer I would give is you absolutely can, as long as I don't have a prior arrangement. If I had been available, I would gladly have done that. So please stop trying to manipulate me. I cannot do it. The answer is no. And as Jody loves to tell us, everybody, she loved it. One day I said, no is a complete sentence. And she just loved that one to bits. For those of you who don't know who Jody is, she's my administrator. And so, you'll hear me talk about Jody a lot. And because really, she is so incredibly funny and also so insightful on so many things. And I remember the day that I said, no is a complete sentence. She really bought that one. She said, wow, that is so good. And it is. So again, I thought I could count on you. Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Unfortunately, this week I have a prior arrangement. It doesn't mean you can't count on me. All right? Really, think about that. And if you think my loyalty has to do that I'm available to you every single time you want me, that is not being a friend to me. Set the boundary. I can't believe how selfish you are. Really. And quite honestly, I'd probably leave it at that. And if they're stupid enough to ask me for more on that one, I would say, I can't believe what you just said to me. And if you consider me a selfish person, then that is your right. But it doesn't make me somebody that you can manipulate. And I am really sad to hear you say that of me. And I need to stop the conversation now. It's like, really, why would I continue that conversation? I need them to sit and think about what they said. And I might even say before I, say that I might say I need to stop the conversation now before I say something I may regret. And if you end up regretting anything that you've said, feel free to call me or send me an email. Yeah, Jody's going. Jody's laughing because of the comment that I made, and if they're stupid enough to ask me for more on that one, Jody, they quite often, that I do that really when I want to say a whole lot more. It's my version of bless their hearts, you know. Um, you see, I do believe that everybody's entitled to their own opinion of me. Don't you believe that? Um, and you know, I've got friends that can't watch, sometimes can't watch YouTube or stuff that I've done because you know there'll be somebody making a nasty remark and they get incensed. How could you say that about Sal? And I'm going, it's okay, you know, feel sadly for them, not badly. They don't know me as well as you do. And so, you know, this is the whole sort of thing. But by the way, I noticed that YouTube is getting even stronger about stopping trolls, just so that you all know. I don't know about the rest of you, but I love it that we don't get all that nasty stuff coming into our broadcast anymore. I am glad we made this change. And I know that a lot of people didn't like that I came off the other platforms where they could do stuff. But, you know, I don't like people dissing people. And I don't have to have it. That's my right, you know. So that's it. And if you agree with me that, you know, being here to help one another is what we're here for. We're not here to call each other names and oh yeah, I hated it. All right, how about the charity thing? You know, I've had a lot of problem with charities phoning me up and saying, um, "Oh well, you donated last year." That's a manipulation. What they're saying is, how come you're being so stingy this year? And what I will do is say, thank you. Can you tell me what day did I donate and how much? The reason I'm asking you is I only donate to two charities. I make it a policy. I've had it a policy all my life. And as far as I know, you're not one of them. So I have a feeling that unless you can prove this, that I will never be donating to your charity. Yeah, Jody's saying, I love the lack of trolls. Our time is spent supporting each other instead of troll zapping. Yeah, yeah, it's much easier for the admins. That is for sure. So you know, you hear something like, "Oh, don't you want to donate money to help the children in Africa?" Yes, if I had enough money to donate to more than two charities every year, I would. I definitely pick Africa because I've lived there. You know, I would say something. So this isn't about you and the work you do. This is about the fact I only donate to two charities, and that is my right. Thank you. I think I'm on some good givers list. I don't know if you know that there is such a thing, but um, you know, there is such a thing as a good givers list. Now, I did change my policy of only donating to two charity type things a year, the ones that I choose. I did donate to the koala bear thing this year. You know, that touched my soul, and I immediately threw some money at that. But, you know, normally I only support two. Does that make me a bad person? I don't think so. All right. So now this one is a great one. And Jody, I thank you for this. This was Desmond Tutu. For those of you who don't know, he's from South Africa. Desmond Tutu said, "Don't raise your voice. Improve your argument." How many of you have been in a conversation with somebody and you disagree with them and they start raising their voice at you? They start getting louder and louder you know, like you're going to believe, you know, you're going to change your mind if they shout loud enough. How many of you have noticed that's happening on talk shows a lot or on news debates a lot? You know, the louder I am, the better my message gets delivered. I don't know about you, but people start yelling at me. I go the opposite way. I go, I really don't want to hear what you're saying. If you cannot control your anger, or if you're trying to manipulate me with loudness, it doesn't work. So if I'm talking to somebody and we're having a discussion and it turns into the other person yelling at me because I'm not doing what they're wanting me to do, I will stop the argument because it's no longer a discussion. It's now an argument. And they're getting frustrated that I'm not agreeing with them. That's their right. but you don't need to shout at me. You can just tell me I don't agree. You see, it's okay to say to somebody, let's agree to disagree. Yeah, I respect your right to have that feeling, even if it's a negative feeling about me. And believe you me, there are plenty of people in the world that have negative feelings about me. And I'm sure there are plenty of people in the world that have negative feelings about you. And that is okay. That's their stuff, right? You we don't need the whole world to like us to be happy. Did you know that? You you just need to have people around you that love and support you and occasionally tell you the truth. So, yelling is another aggressive act, and it's a tactic used to intimidate and manipulate you. How many of you have had that happen where you're talking to somebody about something, and because you don't agree with them, they get louder and louder? And then by the way, have you noticed the body language goes with it? Yeah, like, um, it's amazing. So what Desmond Tutu's comment is about is don't raise your voice, improve your argument. I totally agree with that. Instead of improving their argument, some people will, excuse me, will simply improve the volume and start shouting and yelling at you. So if that happens, you can control that. You can go, excuse me a second, I really do ask that you don't yell at me. Because if you continue to yell at me, I will need to stop this conversation because I feel that what you're doing is a bit intimidating. You know, your argument does not sit better with me because you are shouting it at me. I would do a lot better if we could just talk quietly about it. But if you are that angry that you need to, you're that frustrated or whatever that you need to shout at me, then why don't we take a 24-hour break on this one and talk about it tomorrow when our emotions have died down a little bit on this? I do that a lot when I don't get into arguments a lot, but when somebody gets that angry with me, I will shut it down. I literally will not argue with people anymore. It takes two people to argue. And the funny thing is, when you try to stop, they will manipulate you even more. I've noticed that, and I'll go, let's take a 24-hour break and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I want to talk about it now. And I'll just go, yep, I'm sure you do. And I can hear that by the level of your voice that you want to win this argument now. But you see, I don't agree with you, and that's my right. And I would like us to be able to talk about this in a rational way. This is disrespectful. And I'm scared I'm going to end up saying something I'm going to regret. Therefore, I will not continue this discussion. That is my right. But you need to sort the. No, I don't. I don't need to do anything to please you. I need to protect myself. You see, I will not allow people to manipulate me into this anymore. I used to. I really used to. I don't mind telling you. But it feels so much better. And if you lose a friend because they're not prepared to wait 24 hours and let the tension die down a bit, then this is maybe somebody that you don't need as a friend, right? Because they're not adult enough to see that, things need to calm down. Yeah, we saw that in world politics this week, all right? Where 176 people got killed because the tensions were too high, and somebody saw a blip on a radar screen and pressed a button and wrote off a passenger plane with an awful lot of Canadians in it, thinking it was an incoming missile. That is what getting angry and getting stressed out will do. You do things that you don't double check and you don't think about enough. So how about this one? This one was a good one. And Jody, thank you for finding this one because I found it interesting. Um, they always control the environment. You are always visiting them. They never get out of their comfort zone and come and visit you. Do you know people like that? You see, the reason they want that is they want the control. As long as you're doing this, and by the way, I've got somebody in my life that will not visit me. I always need to visit them. And I know what it's about. It's about control, and they manipulate their environment, right? Because if it's in their house, it's by their rules, and it's all that stuff. So if you've got people like that, just see it for what it is. And by the way, how would I deal with that? I would actually say, I notice that I'm always coming to you. Would you like me to put gas in your car so you can come to me? I mean, is there something wrong with my house that you don't visit me? Because, let's try and get this on an equal, exchange. But if there's something that you don't like about my house or whatever that you're not telling me, maybe we need to discuss that. You see, again, I'd call it for what it is. My reality is that if people behave badly and we don't tell them, how will they improve? Right? If we deal with children and they punch their sister or brother, we tell them don't punch, right? We correct bad behavior. So if you don't do that with your friends and just say, hey, right. So Jody's saying their turf, their rules. Yeah. Actually, I don't totally agree with that either, Jody, as you know, and I'll get onto that in a minute. Control issues. Yep, absolutely. Why not make it 50-50 or meet in a neutral place? Yes, I want to tell you that I have had people where I visited them and they have been downright rude to me. And they said, it's my house. Uh, I can treat you any way I like. And I go, no, you actually can't. Sorry about that. Just because I'm in your house doesn't mean you can abuse me. And I understand that you think that is true, but I just want to show you that it's not. And I need to go now. And I do. I will leave. You see, I used to put up with this for so much of my life. And I won't do it now. And if I lose you as a friend because of it, so be it. Because the friends I have got wouldn't dream of doing that to me. They are not manipulators. Right? If they've got an issue with me, hey, Sal, they also have the guts to phone me and talk about it. Okay. So let's see what we got next. Yeah, let's do the favor one next. Okay, let me read this thing that Jody sent me because I think it's nice. If a favor is not done for you just because, then it isn't for the fun and for free. If there are strings attached, then manipulation is occurring. See, one type of manipulator is referenced as Mr. Nice Guy or Ms. Nice Woman. This person might be helpful and do a lot of favors for other people. But it's very confusing because you don't realize there's anything negative going on. But on the other hand, and you've all probably had somebody who's done this to you, but on the other hand, with every good deed, there is a string attached, an expectation. I had one person that I didn't see for months and months and months of a year, and then they turn up on my doorstep. And the first time it happened, I was so pleased to see them. But they came out of the blue and without an invitation or any warning. And I thought that was unusual because people know I'm not big into that. And, I served coffee and we chit chatted, and then it came. They needed money. And then it sort of went in my head. Oh, that's why they're visiting me. They're not visiting me because, any other reason that they need money. And I'm on the list. So, the first time it happened, I lent them money because they're a friend. And have a rule about lending money, and I would recommend you all have a similar rule. I never lend more money than I know I do not need to get back. So if I can only afford to lose $10 this month, I will give $10 and know that it's gone. Right? That's how if I lend money, that's how I lend it. I lend it on the understanding that it's gone. The chances of getting it back are probably zero. And therefore, if I ever do get it back, it's a pleasant surprise. But I am the one that's choosing to lend the money. Therefore, I am the one, that needs to be responsible for doing it. I cannot control the other person's behavior. I cannot make them into somebody that pays their debts. I wonder if this makes sense to any of you. All right. And because I cannot control that, therefore, it's up to me to control myself and not give more money than I am prepared not to see back again. To continue with the story, the same thing happened. By the way, have you noticed that the house is beginning to look a bit empty? All that corner. I'll get my hand in the right place now. That corner. There we go. All that corner. I've taken away all the bits there. It's beginning to look quite. I haven't taken those away yet. So anyway, what happened was time went by, and guess who turned up on my doorstep again? The same person. And I actually was. I was so pleased to see them. Hi, and da 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 da. Funny that they came without being invited or without warning, but never mind. Halfway through coffee, guess what? Wanted money. And that second time, I looked at them and I said, "No, you and I need to have a very serious discussion because this is your behavior, and I want to make sure you know about it because you must be losing a lot of friends, and I want to make sure you know why. You know, you have only visited me twice in 2 years, and both times you came for money. That I understand, and I'm sorry that you are not handling your finances well enough that you need to have this happen. However, this is twice in a row that you've done it, and I haven't seen 1 cent back of the first amount of money that I lent you. If you had paid me back $1 a month, I would feel very differently from the way that I feel right now, because right now I'm being manipulated and I know it. You are manipulating our friendship to get finance. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you some more money, much less than I did last time, and I'm going to tell you don't ever come back again. Ever. Unless you have totally repaid the debt. Here's your money. Goodbye. And it sounds pretty harsh, but this is like, I am not going to reward bad behavior. Why did I give money a second time? I've been broke in my life, and probably you have too. And, there are times when the need for the money is genuine. But to not repay it in any way, to my mind, is stupid. Because part of what I'm going to be talking about, and we're going to be doing a program on budgeting. Part of what I learned very early on in life was that, if you pay somebody back, and be that, anybody that you owe money to in your life, if you pay them back regularly a small amount of money, they know you're trying. If you just ignore them and pretend that you don't, keeping in touch with people that you owe money to is fine. It's good to be able to say, hey, I just want to acknowledge, I know I still owe you $10. But if you say, here is $1 towards the debt that I have with you, it has a totally different feeling. And that's what people with integrity do. They may not be able to pay it all back, but if this month I can only pay you 50 cents, let me send the 50 cents. Let me show you I am not forgetting you and that I'm trying to pay it back. Good. Jody made a comment here. It makes total sense. It's an insurance policy. You cannot control their behavior with money. Yes, that is why I never lend more than I'm prepared to lose. That is my rule. And knowing that I will lose it, more likely than not. So the next one, and we've all had this one happen to us. Jody, these are great examples. I thank you so much for the work that you did, because this is exactly the sort of stuff that, that we all can relate to. All right. The next one is minimizing. Manipulative behavior involves minimizing its effects on others. Let's give some examples of that. Have you ever had that happen where somebody says something to you and you call them on it? Right? And they go, oh no, I was only joking. Or, what's wrong with you? Can't you take a joke? Or, you're so sensitive. Okay, I'm just going to read some comments that are coming up, but I want to address these because it took me a long time in my life to learn how to answer this one. And it's 3 different versions of it. But, I want to tell you something. I now know how to answer that for me. All right, Kimmy's saying that happened to me when my mom passed and gave her house to my daughter in Colorado. I helped her with the bills and mortgage, and she was manipulative. And I caught on and I cut her off. Yeah. And you did lose a lot of money. Yes, never again. It's right. It's like, you learn the hard way, right? And it's like, no, but Kimmy, it took me so long to learn some of these things. And that's why, that's why I want to talk about them openly with you all, because maybe I can save you a lot of heartache just by talking about this stuff and let you know it's okay to make a boundary. It's okay not to be manipulated. It doesn't make you a bad person if you don't allow somebody to manipulate you. It makes you smart, right? So let's do this one. Somebody says something bad to me and I call them on it and they say, oh, don't worry, I was only joking. And I will say, that's what a lot of people say when they've just been caught out on something that they said. And I hope that isn't the case with you. I call them on it. Or, can't you take a joke? Yep, when it's funny. I didn't find that very funny, quite honestly. I had that happen with my brother. Those of you who know, Big Brother Jeff came to visit. And he was telling me a story about how he embarrassed somebody. And they called him on it. And he said to me, I can't believe that he was so sensitive. And I said, well, I can. You insulted him. Well, what's wrong with him? Can't he take a joke? I said, that's not a joke to insult and humiliate somebody. I know you think it is, but actually, it isn't funny. It is not funny to do that. And so, guess what? I get the repercussion back at me that, well, God, what's happened to you since since you went to Canada, you don't have the same sense of humor you used to. And I said, no, I don't. I quite agree. I just don't have that same sense of humor where making a fool of somebody is funny to me anymore. Why do you feel like a fool, Kimmy? That's something you do to yourself. It's not something that somebody else can do to you. So talk to me about that, if you will. And the next one I want to talk a bit about um, is the blame game. But before I do, remember that if you've got a topic that you would like us to discuss, make sure you write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com and we'll add it to the list. We're always looking for good stuff to talk about. Yeah, Jody is coming back. But first, let me read Kimmy's comment. She said, I did find out that she was using the money for other bad things. That made me so mad. And I still feel like a fool. Don't feel like a fool. You trusted somebody who wasn't trustworthy. That doesn't make you a fool. That makes you human. And Jody's saying, Kimmy, you have a kind heart and you're not a fool. It's emotional, especially when family is involved. Yep. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt, Kimmy, who said, nobody can ever make you feel badly. You do that to yourself. You can feel hurt. You can feel used, but don't feel like a fool. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I would recommend that you don't feel like a fool, right? Because you do that to yourself. And, it's a fact that you were manipulated. It's a fact that you were used, all right? But it's not true that you are a fool. And you don't have to feel like one because you're not. End of story. Kimmy, would you like my story on that one? I would like to tell you what happened to me yesterday, Kimmy, so that you can understand that I do that to myself as well. All right. So Kimmy's answer is, because I was manipulated for a long time, I should have caught on earlier. You are shoulding all over yourself, Kimmy. You know I don't like that should word. It's a guilt word. You are guilting yourself. You didn't catch on earlier because you didn't know earlier. How can you blame yourself for not knowing what manipulation sounded and looked like? You see, we have to experience it to be able to feel it. We have to experience it enough to know how painful it is that I want to stop it. And then we learn the lesson. Kimmy, yesterday, and I'm going to share this with you because I want you to understand you're not alone. I'm busy trying to get all the things done ready for the move. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the process of moving my house. That's why place is beginning to look empty, because I'm packing things up. But yesterday, Kimmy, I went to go and do some insurance. I needed to get ready to insure the new place for a month with a rental policy, because I'm going to be renting it for a month. And then I'm going to be doing the full insurance of it, after that month. However, when I was sitting at the insurance provider, they said, we don't have your contents insurance here. I said, what? And they said, we don't have your contents insurance. You don't have it with us. And that really upset me, because yesterday I was at another place there. I do other insurance, and they didn't have it either. And then, Kimmy, I started to feel stupid. So I want you to know, I want you to know that I understand the feeling. I'm thinking, how did I let my contents insurance lapse and not know about it? That neither of my main providers have got, and then of course I do the blame game. Why didn't somebody tell me it was going to, collapse? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe they didn't. I keep thinking that it's on automatic payment, so I never worried about it. And I started to do a number on myself. Do any of you relate to this? I could hear voices in my head going, how stupid can you be? And how irresponsible. And you are meant to be a role model for people, and da 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 da. And I just did a whole number on myself. In the meantime, I went back to the first place and to double check that my contents insurance had never been with them. And, I asked them to look back to see had it ever been with them, and it hadn't. So then I'm totally confused. And I'm going, well, if it's never been with them and it had never been with these other people, where the is it? Or was it? And but what I realized was I was driving around frustrated and angry. Luckily, only a couple of blocks. And then I sat in my car, Kimmy, and said, Sal, you are not stupid. You are not irresponsible. And you are not any of these names you're calling yourself. Something is not right. And you need to find out what it is. And until you find out what it is, stop blaming yourself and guilting yourself and really doing a number on yourself. This is not fair to you. And if by any chance you have accidentally allowed your contents insurance to lapse, then, raise your eyes to the heavens and give thanks that your house didn't burn down. Right? And what happened was I just totally calmed myself down, Kimmy, because I realized I know I'm not stupid. I know I'm not irresponsible, but I do make mistakes. So it's possible it happened. That doesn't make me stupid. It makes me, my mind's obviously being busy with other things. So anyway, I got home and as some of you know, Yvonne looks after my taxes and stuff. And so I knew she had all the paperwork. And I said, Bonnie, because she literally just grabs all my bank statements and does everything, people that's her Christmas present to me every year. So guess what? I said, do I still have contents insurance? And if so, with whom? Because I don't know. And it turns out there was a third provider. And I am on automatic payment. And no, it has not stopped. You see, I'm not stupid. Huh? I am forgetful. and this afternoon I will be phoning them to tell them I'm about to cancel the policy, which I've probably had with them for 30 years. Kimmy is saying that she's glad to talk to us about these things, but Jody is correctly saying back to her, so glad that you're feeling better about it, Kimmy, because we're happy you're here. And remember that you are helping others, Kimmy, by discussing this. All right. Every time we talk about a real life thing, I'm certain every one of you can relate to how scared I was in that moment when I thought I had been that irresponsible. I am pretty sure every one of you can relate to the voices going on in my head. How could you be so stupid? Yeah, Kimmy, I totally related. But I corrected it really quickly. Because number one, I don't want to be driving with that mentality because I'm angry at myself. I should not be driving. I need to get under control before I drive. I will not drive when I am really sad. I will stop the car if I start getting that upset that I'm sad. Or if I'm, feeling angry, I do everything I can not to drive my car because I think that's irresponsible. How about the person who never accepts any blame? Do any of you know that person? Manipulative people blame everybody else. They rarely accept their part in anything. All right. Um, if they hadn't annoyed me, okay, it would never have happened, right? If they hadn't annoyed me, they'll say things like, "Well, I would have done it, but you didn't tell me to do that." Or the other one of that one is, "Well, the reason it went wrong is because I followed your advice." You see, I try very hard not to tell people what to do because I don't want them coming back with that one. I will give people options. Hey, here are some things you can do. Have you been to the doctor? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? This is like, if you want to be stupid, that's your right. But I'm amazed how many people blame other people. We had a classic example with one of our much loved viewers this week. Really much loved viewer, who started off by saying, I can't believe somebody came into work sick and may, and spread those germs, and then got sick and went to work. Double standard. It was not okay for the one person to do it, but it was okay for her to do it. Now, to me, that was a very interesting double standard, where she was blaming the first person for giving her the germ, but didn't think twice about going to work, because apparently, it was important that life would stop if she didn't go to work. My heart felt so sad for her that she feels that way, because I've been there and I've done that, had that feeling. I've worked, 20-hour week days because, there was too much work for one person to do. So I used to work really long hours. It took me a long time to find out that really I don't do that anymore. So I think that we all need to see where we're being manipulated. I believe that the more we learn, the more we can see it. um, Jody, if you think about it, when I gave you the possible challenge about helping me with Dear Mama Sal, what I did is I threw the bait out there, and I wanted to see if you jumped up and caught it. Okay. Because if you were interested, you would jump up and catch it and do something about it. And I find that that's what I do with people now. I don't expect them to help me, but I will say, if you really, would like to help me, then this is something that would be helpful. But I don't expect them to do it, right? It's like, I'll put it out there, and if you jump at it and do something, I will be so grateful. But if you don't, I still love you. Do you all get that? My friendship is not conditional on this. This is just like, hey, if you can do this. By the way, I noticed that I hadn't heard from my friend Marnie for since, before Christmas, just before Christmas. And I thought, that's a long time. Yeah, Marnie and I, and we don't talk every day, but we normally have a tweet or two, or a text message or two going on. And I realized I hadn't had any, so I actually sent a text message to her mum and said, "Are you guys okay?" Because they live together, and the mum wrote back to me and said, "Yeah," and then they're on vacation. Well, they hadn't let me know that they were on vacation. They're in Europe. And she said, "I'm sorry we haven't let you know. The internet's been bad." And I'm going, I don't give a damn about how bad the internet is. How come I didn't know you were going overseas? Because, I would have made more sense to me why I didn't hear from you. So, this is called, we will be having a discussion about that when she gets back. And did you think I didn't care? You're wrong. All right. So how about the manipulation of body language? Jody, these are great examples. You definitely are good at this, right? So here we go with some body language ones. How many of you have been talking to somebody and they go, or really? You know, you see, all these are body language things. And it was funny because last night I was doing a coaching session. I don't really advertise that I help people with interview techniques, but I do it, and I get people by word of mouth. And yesterday I ended up with this med student who's about to go in for a med school interview, and she said, I I got your name from my chiropractor. And I said, yep. I know. And but I said, what did she tell you? Because I want to know before we start what made you phone me. And it was really funny because she said, well, it was the way she spoke about you. And she said, I believe you've helped people getting into med school, you firefighters and policemen. And I said, yep, I have. And I said, but you need to know I'm not going to question you about any of your knowledge because you've already passed that test, because otherwise they wouldn't be doing the interview. You see, what I want to help you with is to do a great interview, because you're going to be amongst about 20 people who are all going to learn the perfect answer to everything. And I want to make sure you don't give that. She goes, what? I said, you see, I don't want them to get bored with you. I want them to go, you know, that she was a breath of fresh air, right? Because I want to actually make sure that you have a conversation with them, and that you talk like a doctor would, and that you think like a doctor would, and that you are not arrogant or perfect. But what you are is adult. And so that's what I'm going to help you with. And she said, okay. And so so then I asked her a question, tell me why you want to be a doctor. And it was amazing because she said, well, I think because of da 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 da, and then maybe and I'm pretty good at da da. And I went, stop, body language, right? Stop. I said, imagine if a doctor came in and you told your doctor the symptoms and they said, well, I think maybe, oh, when she was playing with her hair, I think maybe it might be, but there again, it could be, hmm. And she started to laugh and she said, right. And I said, okay, so do me a favor, get out of the child thing. Let's get into the doctor thing. I'm going to ask you again, why do you want to be a doctor? And she gave me this, completely different story, but it went on forever. And I said, okay, does a doctor take that long to tell you something? And she said, no, they're pretty concise and to the point. And I said, do you know why? And she said, well, they're a doctor. And I said, no, it's because they have a 15-minute time span in which to hear your story, assess the situation, diagnose it, and treat it. 15 minutes. Maybe 10 sometimes. So that's why they have to be pretty concise. And by the way, if you waffle to them, you're wasting their time. So what I want you to do is think like a doctor. And I'm going to ask you again. Why do you want to be a doctor? And she came back at me and she went, boom, 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 and da 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 because of X, Y, and Z. And I went, better. That's how a doctor would answer it. And she said, I can't believe how many times I say, maybe, I think. Yeah, I said, no, I know. That's why you come to me. All right, so let's see what the comments are. All right, so Kimmy, first of all, Kimmy said, I get frustrated that I constantly put the fault and their problems on me. Yes, because you allowed them to, Kimmy. That's all right. When people do that, it's because you're like a garbage dump, Kimmy. You're a really good place for people to throw shit. Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is you've stopped doing that. I know you have, because you've been telling us about it. And Jody, being Jody, is saying, Kimmy, you can choose what part you take on. Some, all, or none. You can change their behavior. You can't change their behavior, but you surely can choose to protect your energy and your heart. Jody's really good now. Um, and then Kimmy said, or when I'm trying to talk to them about a problem I am having with a certain person, and they say it's my fault. It's never their fault. Yeah. Well, first of all, is it true, Kimmy? Because that's the one question I always like to ask myself. Is it true that it is my fault? You see, because sometimes it is. And so I never ever want everybody to say it's never my fault. Jody will tell you that I pick Jody up on this occasionally, where I go, Jody, you are not an unbiased person. She will tell me, this, that, and the other, and I will laugh at her and I go, Jody, I know you're not an unbiased person. All right. Because Jody would probably take my side against most people most of the time because of the relationship. So, um, sometimes I will actually go to somebody else instead of Jody because I know Jody, is not unbiased at all. So she is incapable now of giving me what I call an objective thing, because of the love. Right? There is too much love there. So I will go to somebody who is more objective sometimes. Not because I don't adore Jody. It's about because Jody, would have great difficulty in telling me I was wrong. But I'm going to work with her on that one. All right, let me have a look here and see what's going on. Kimmy answered to Jody, she's continuing the story and saying, oh, when I'm trying to talk to them about a problem I'm having with a certain person, right, they always say it's my fault, never theirs. We heard that one. For instance, she said, excuse me, when the grandkids don't mind and disrespect, they turn it around and say, it's me that's being mean to them. Well, that could be true. They could feel that. They could feel that you're being mean to them. Doesn't mean that you are, but they could feel that. Or you could be being mean to them. So I can't make a comment about that because I wasn't there. I wasn't part of the conversation. I just know there are always two sides to a conversation. And so, Kimmy, what I would do is say, hey, let me tell you something, that if I was mean to them, I'd like to apologize to them. I don't think I was, but if I was, I would like to apologize for that. I still don't believe that their bad behavior was justified. Jody's saying guilty as charged, about being a tad biased, right? But I'm really trying to be as objective as possible. I am a work in progress. There is great love. Yeah, I know that, Jody. Kimmy is saying, I am not being mean to them. I'm just asking them to listen to me and mind me, right? Be respectful. Yeah, what I've always said to people is you can't demand, funnily enough, you can't demand respect. Um, it's a strange thing. Yeah. How many of you know that you can demand it when they're children, but with adults you can't demand it? And quite honestly, I don't think you can demand respect with children either. Children are actually way smarter than we give them credit for. We can manipulate it and we can put the fear of God into them, but respect is something you earn. And the thing is that when we learn not to be angry and to stand our ground, it is a lot better. I think what I've learned now is that when somebody does something that I don't like, if you get a chance, watch that Mr. Rogers movie, Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood, and learn from it. Learn how he dealt with people who had a totally different view or did bad things. Because I am really waiting for that movie to come out on Netflix or Prime or wherever it's going to come out, because I want to watch it a few times to just study how he dealt with those things, because it was brilliant. He never got angry with anybody. He never asked people to respect him. I disagree with you, Kimmy, and I've got to say that because you know that I would be honest with you. Kimmy's saying you can't demand respect from kids. They don't care. Now, your kids Your grandchildren might not care, or your children might not care. That may be the feeling, but I actually have to say that's not my experience. My experience is that we all care, and that we all want to be loved, and that we all want to be right, and we all want to be respected, and all the things that you're looking for, Kimmy, are things that other people want too. And so, what I would ask us all to do is to be aware, all right, that the people we can work on is the person you see in the mirror. In other words, am I respectful to the children and the grandchildren? And the boundary about, hey, we need to get some respect going here. For example, I've always said that you have the right in your house, to have a meal that everybody needs to come to, and you can turn the internet off. Um, that is your right, but they have the right not to want to visit you if they're not allowed to use the internet, for example. All right, so Kimmy says it comes back to discipline. If the parents don't teach their children to respect, they won't respect their elders. Right. I agree. Um, by the way, is that happening in the royal family at the moment? You know, I'm pretty certain that there is a huge discussion going on in England at the moment about the fact that Harry and Meghan have decided to step down from being, high level royals, um, or senior royals, as it's called. They have decided to step away from royal life t- for quite a large part of their life now. Now, then they did something else. They published something that the Queen asked them not to. And they went ahead and published it anyway. So, do you think the Queen right now is dealing with what she thinks is a disrespectful child? I told you not to do that, and you did it. And can you see Harry on the other side is probably saying, ma'am, I am an adult and I have decided that I want to live my life with my wife. I will continue to support you and your monarchy in every way that we can. We will continue to do this, this, and this to assist you. But I am doing this. I can see both sides of this story. Can you? And I is it disrespectful of what he did? I am certain that the Queen thinks so because it went against everything that is royal, right? She gave the edict, you are not to publish this, and he went ahead and published it anyway. And I don't know if you visited the site, Jody, but it was very respectful of the Queen. It was very respectful of the monarchy, and I read every line of that website, and basically, I got the sense that we want to do royal in a different way. We want to go and be more useful members of society, but still be royal. And they realize that the risk they can take is to have their titles taken away. Not they may end up not being their royal highnesses anymore. Um, he may end up not being a prince anymore. He'll just be a duke, and she will just be a duchess, and not too bad. But it's like, does he have the right? There's an argument on this one because some people will say he's a royal, he has to obey the royal rules. And there's the other side that says he is an adult and he gets to choose his life. It was like when His great grandfather, stepped down from because he wanted to marry Wallace Simpson. It upset a lot of people because it was not what royal people do, but it was what he did for love. Right. So Jodie's saying, I can absolutely see both sides. This was unprecedented to say the least. But given how Princess Diana lost her life, Harry could be in fear for his wife and child with the relentless press. Bingo. And you can imagine how pleased I am that they chose to be in Canada. They're actually about an hour away from me at the moment. Maybe two. So, it's like, yeah. And do I think that Harry will continue to do incredibly good work? Yep. Do I think that he and the Duchess Meghan will do, awesome work around the world? Yep. So you see, to me, this is all about there are two sides to the story. I I also remember how far down the line he is. He is not next in line or second in line to the throne. He is now, I think, fifth in line to the throne. Let's work that one out. So there's Prince Charles is one, William is two, I think George is three, Charlotte is Charlotte four, which would make Louis five, which would make Harry six. I think he's sixth in line now. I could be wrong on that one. I'm certain somebody will correct me on that. But you understand, it is not like, he's likely to be king. It's a different story if he's if he is in the heir or spare position. All right. So we've got Charles is the heir, William is the spare, right? Anything happens to Charles, William's ready to step in. When something happens to Charles, God forbid it doesn't, but if something happens to Charles, then William becomes the heir and the spare would be Prince George when he becomes of age. Now, if that happened, it is possible that Harry would stand in as Prince Regent. In other words, until George is old enough, Harry might stand in, while George is growing up. I wonder how that works. I think that's how a Prince Regent works. Could be wrong. So what has this got to do with manipulation? Can you imagine the Queen is manipulating a little bit? See, the point I'm trying to make here is it happens. I was right. He's sixth in line. Yay, I did it correctly. All right. Thank you, Jodie. So can you see that I'm pretty sure the Queen is manipulating him at the moment. But what I also heard is they're trying to come up, the royals are trying to come up with a win-win here. They are trying not to lose Harry and Meghan out of the royal family lineage thing, and yet give them a life that they want to live. But I can also understand, like his great-grandfather, that he would give up those titles and the right to the throne or whatever just to have his wife and child safe. By the way, does that make them safe? No. Because he could give up all of this and end up, with a worse situation somewhere else. But I agree, he is trying to get away from the tabloids and the horror story they're doing on Meghan. And I think Jody is absolutely right. He saw what the press did to his mom, including getting her killed, and he doesn't want that repeated. So when I look at all of this and go, I want to go right back, because we've spent some time talking about different manipulations. And now I want to go back and ask you some questions. Now that we've sort of got it clear in our minds. Hi there, Nada. Good to see you, honey. Um, have any of you ever done the blackmail thing on somebody else? Well, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I will do A, B, and C. I've done it. I don't mind admitting it. I try and catch myself now, but I've done it. I really, I caught myself doing it one time in quite serious, on a serious matter. I caught myself doing it this year on something. And, as soon as the words came tumbling out of my mouth, I said, I want to apologize for that. You have every right to do whatever you want to do. And my love for you is not conditional on that. I just, won't be part of it, but my love for you is different. It's not conditional. I'm not going to blackmail you. So I want to make sure that you understand that we all do it. Try doing it less. The guilt trip. How many of you have done the guilt trip? How many of you have said, "Oh, sorry, I thought we were friends," or something similar to that? How many of you have said, "Oh, I thought I could count on you"? I, I'm pretty sure I have. I'm not recently, and so I want you. You see, if you are emotionally intelligent, that you can see that this goes both ways. Right, good for you, Nada. Nada saying, right, I have in the past. Yep. But as you get more emotionally intelligent, you can own those things and know that we all do. Probably in a moment of anger or frustration or whatever, but we all have probably done it. The trick is to do it less. So, how many of you have raised your voice at another person to try and make your point? Yep, been there, done that. And I've even, not, I must admit, I'm doing it less and less because I realize it doesn't make it better. Nada's going, oh boy, me. You see, but forgive yourself. See both sides of this. That if you can see that you have done it, then not everybody that does it is a bad person because you're not a bad person. You just got frustrated. And and Kimmy's saying, yeah, a few times. Jody's going, I definitely raised my hand and I definitely raised my voice. Right? So, but think about why you do it. Listen to Nada. That's great. Nada's saying, I get louder if I feel misunderstood. How many of you relate to that? I get louder if I feel misunderstood. Then I realize it and ask for forgiveness to myself and from them. I'm working on staying calm and explaining. Actually, again, wasn't it Eleanor Roosevelt who said, never complain and never explain? That is the ultimate goal, is not to have to complain. It just is what it is, and never to explain. No is a complete sentence. I haven't got there yet, but I'm working towards it. I keep that in my mind. When I find myself going no and da 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 da, and I go never complain and never explain. No is enough. Okay. So, how many of you have ever done the conditional favor? Gone to visit somebody that you haven't seen for a long time or contacted them on their email. How many of you have noticed this one, by the way? This one is a biggie. If I get a telephone call, and I'm good at this one now because I can see it coming a mile away. If I get a telephone call from somebody that I haven't heard from for a long time, they're a ghost from the past. I literally would go, hi, how are you doing? And inside I'm going, which multi-level marketing scheme did they get involved in that they're calling me? Now, that's pretty cynical, but it's also Absolutely 100% foolproof. If hear from somebody that out of the blue I haven't heard from for a long time, 99.9% of the time it's because they have signed up on some sort of multi-level marketing thing and they think Sal is a good catch. So now then, let me turn that one around and go, how many of you only contact certain people when you want something from them? I'm not doing the blame game. I'm asking you to think about it and just be aware that it goes both ways. Remember the guy that only visited me when he wanted to borrow money, right? It worked for a while, but not for very long. And by the way, I have never seen him since. Never. No idea what happened to him. And I am sad to say, nor do I really care. I am sorry to say that because I don't feel that very often about people. How many of you have ever said, I was only joking when you got caught out on something? I've done it. But you know what I also do now and go, you know something, I got to be quite honest, I wasn't joking. I meant it. um, have you ever said to somebody, don't take this personally? I've changed that. I will now say, I want you to take this personally. That's my 2x4, right? I'd like you to take this personally. How many of you have ever said, what's wrong with you? Can't you take a joke? Ah, Kimmy's going, yep, they call me if they want money. Yep. That tells you everything you want to know, right? And how many of you have know what it feels like to be told, oh, you're too sensitive? I do have an answer for that, by the way. I don't think I gave it, but I do have an answer for that. I do say to people, yes, you're right, I am sensitive. I am sensitive to people insulting me. I am sensitive to people being rude to me, and I am sensitive to people hurting me. If you consider that to be too sensitive, then I'm sorry to hear that. I am sensitive to abuse. And by the way, have you noticed that my voice tone changes as well? Jody's saying, I've had friends who contact me to say hello, only to find out they were selling a product and wanted me to buy or invest in something. Exactly, right? Hi, Beth. Beth, right at the beginning, I don't know when you started listening, but right at the beginning, I know you've got a procedure coming up in January. So whenever it is, hugs, and I hope you're feeling better, honey. All right. So Beth's saying, don't forget about the manipulator that uses playing the victim card to gain sympathy and compassion. Right. Have you ever done it, Beth? Even without realizing it. I think we all do it in some way. I think it goes both ways, is what I'm trying to say. That we yeah, right. Hugs. Beth, I don't know how long you've been listening, but right, Ned is saying, I just want to be understood. To be understood, we need to communicate better. All right. So Jody is saying to Beth, Beth, I'm going through that right now with it in my life, and I just won't engage in it anymore. Right? Yeah, okay. Beth's been here the whole time. Okay. So Beth, are you feeling better? That's what I'm trying to find out. I know you've been really sick, honey. What I want you all to see is that we all do manipulation and we all do these things, but maybe we're doing it less. Another thing, I was having kind of a bad day, but I'm glad for your hugs. It's my pleasure to give the hugs. And you know that if I could be within arm's length of you, I would give you real ones. And you'd probably cry, and so would I. That's what I found when I met Erin. I was pretty sure that when I met Erin that I would cry, and I did. So I want to find out, have any of you, done these things? And if so, let us be more compassionate of them. So if you can see that we have done them, the way we react to them could be completely different. That's what I'm thinking. That our reaction could be completely different. Beth saying, yes, I am weak, but going to work tomorrow. No fever, but lost 8 pounds in 5 days. And you're going to work tomorrow. Okay. All right. So Beth, I please don't please look after yourself the way you would ask me to look after myself. I do that with Jody all the time, Beth, where I will say, Jody will tell me that something's going on with her, and I will say, could you please give yourself the same advice you'd give me? Because what I've discovered is that we live a double standard. And we are much kinder to each other than we are to ourselves. And so I really, I'm struggling, Beth. I am struggling because my mother hen wants to protect you. And I'm going to own that. And I'm doing everything I can to keep my mouth shut. And it's really difficult, Beth. So please look after yourself. Right? All right. So at least I can admit what's going on for me. So have any of you done the body language manipulations? All right, Jody's asking a question here. She's saying, does anyone remember as a child having a friend that tried to manipulate you by saying, I'll tell your mom and dad if you don't do what they want you to do? Yeah, that was one of those things. That's why I started with the blackmail one, Jody, because that is straight blackmail, right? If you remember, that's where I started. If you don't do da 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 da, I will do da 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 da. So anything that that fits into that is blackmail. And the answer to it is, if you have not done anything worth telling mom and dad about, that falls away. Remember that I was saying that live the life that they don't have anything to report. The answer to it is, if you have done something that's worth reporting to mom and dad, the answer to it is, don't waste your breath. I'll go and talk to them about it now myself, and go do it. You see, you take away the power of the other person. That's what Bezos taught us. The emotionally intelligent person goes, I made that mistake. I had a mistress. Da 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 da. Yeah, those photographs are there. But I'm going to own them, and I'm going to take the risk of losing my wife and everything else. And he did. You see, I think I didn't like what he had done, but what I liked was the way in which he just said, I am not going to be blackmailed by anybody. Right? And that is the whole thing. The way you stop a manipulator is to call them on it and to stop them. So my question to you in terms of turning it around, how many of you have used body language to manipulate somebody? My favorite one, I used to talk about this a lot when I was on stage because it was definitely my favorite for a long time, which if I got frustrated, and I did a lot in those days, and my emotional intelligence was not where it is today. When I got frustrated, instead of talking about something, I'd go to the kitchen because, there's so many noisy things in a kitchen. Do any of you relate to this? Yeah, you can slam a cup the door, you can rattle a pot and pan, and you can, put a lid on loudly and da 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 da, and you can do all sorts of things, make a lot of noise in the kitchen to make sure everybody knows that you are not a happy camper. And the funny thing is, and what I used to say to my audiences was, how long did I do this for? And my answer was always, it takes as long as it takes, because you and I both know that eventually somebody's going to walk into that kitchen and ask, what's wrong? And our answer is, I think. How many of you have told that lie? How many of you have manipulated somebody to come crawling to you to find out what's going on, and when they bothered to do that, you lied to them? Uh, I want to tell you that I have had more fun with that story around the world than a lot of stories I tell, because I have yet to meet a woman who doesn't relate to that. you know. Oh, all right. So Beth saying work tried to get me to come into work yesterday, manipulation, because someone quit and they needed me. I said no. The doctor said I can go back to work on Saturday. Well done, Beth. And the answer is, I have infected enough people and enough customers. That's enough. My doctor says I am not to go back unless, you guys want me to have pleurisy or pneumonia or whatever. Beth, the reason I mother hen that one is I've done it. And I've been there and I've had pleurisy or, bronchitis and all those things because I didn't look after a flu that went to my chest. I have T-shirts, a lot of them. I used to say, I would phone in sick to work, and they would say, "Oh, well, so and so's in, and she's sick." And I said, "I don't care how many people she's infecting. I don't feel well enough to drive. Therefore, I'm not coming to work." You see, I always think about that. Am I well enough to drive? you know. Wow, that's amazing, Beth. Well done. Well done, honey. So you continue to look after yourself, please. All right? Um, because we care. And Beth, when is this other procedure that you had to have? Has it been and gone? Actually, maybe I shouldn't ask you, because I've asked you a number of times and I don't think I've got an answer, which means that you don't want to answer it. And I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize. Um, all right. So the whole thing about manipulation is, see it for what it is, stop it whenever you can, and stop doing it whenever you can. And if you find yourself doing it, which we all do because we're human beings, have the good grace to apologize for it. Laugh and go, I am so sorry. That sounded really quite manipulative. It is not what I meant. Well, maybe it was, and just laugh it off. Because to me, being able to laugh it off is a really good one. you know. I find as well, I really encourage you that when you get into a conversation where you're going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards with somebody, just go, why don't we just agree to disagree on that one and move on? Because I Do we need to prove ourselves right as much? I hope not. I hope that we can just learn not to have to be right all the time.
Here's what I found.
Oh, apparently Google's trying to answer a question for me that I didn't ask. I have no idea how to stop that. That would do it. So I would like to thank Niesha for asking for this subject, by the way. Have any of you found it helpful? Have any of you sort of gone, wow, I can see both sides of that now. I can see better that people are doing it to me and I can see how to stop it, but I also can see that I'm doing it to others. Yeah. So, sorry, Beth. Oh, okay. I understand that now. So Beth's telling me the procedure is the first week of February. Jody, please could you make a note for me? Um, all right. So Jody's saying that the topic fascinated her. Well, Jody, do you feel that it was even more interesting because you got to do the research on it? Did you realize that? Oh, I want to tell you, Isabel, this was a doozy. Yeah. Um, Jody, do you think that because you did some of the research, it made you even more interested? Because you see, what I love is when we get involved in life. It's called participation. When we participate in life, it changes things. When we come to the broadcast and realize we're not the only ones that have people manipulate us. When we come to the broadcast and find out, gosh, I'm the only one that lost control a bit this week. I'm not the only one that got scared stupid this week. And for a split second, I was terrified. I don't mind telling you. And I did feel stupid. And I did feel that I was a gray hair losing it. I don't mind telling you for a split second. And then I had to take my own 2x4 and go, whata! Sal, stop this. You are not stupid. You are very responsible and da 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 da. And don't do this to yourself. So, and you definitely don't drive until you got your mind in the right place because this is ridiculous what you're doing. And so what I am encouraging you all to remember is to be responsible for your own recovery. Jody's saying it was interesting to begin with, but I really wanted to get some great info. So, yes, that made it even more fascinating because I read so much about it. Jody, do you now know why I love to do what I do? Because every week I get to research a different topic. And every week I learn that much more. And every week we all get to discuss something that we all do. You see, none of us is perfect. We all make these mistakes. The trick is, can we make them less often and can we own them when we do them? Because when we can, life changes. I was there with the insurance lady. They were totally overbooked and they were so busy. And here I was, busy trying to get insurance. And the woman said to me, I don't want to insure you because you could be insured somewhere else. Why would I double insure you? And I was in a fog because everything was going in the wrong direction. I just wanted to get in there, get my stuff insured for the move and move on. The good news is I'm going to do that this afternoon by phoning the company that actually has my insurance and put on what they call a rider. Right? Do you all know what a rider is now? A rider is a little addendum that goes on my insurance policy that says this property may be in transit between two places. In other words, if I've got it all in my car and my car got stolen, I would still be insured. Or if it's all in a truck and the truck get stolen, that I'm still insured. Even though it's not in the house, the rider is that even while it's in transit. And I'm going to have to insure my property twice in 1 month. You see, because some of it's going to be in my house that I live in right now, the one that you're looking at, and some of it's going to be at the new place, which I think I will probably get the keys to on Sunday. So here is the thing. I have got two choices, and I'd like your help. If I do get the keys to the new place on Sunday, and I have asked that the internet be available to me on Sunday there. Do you want me to take the risk and maybe not do a broadcast, but or maybe do it from the new place, or stay home and do the broadcast from here? Now you understand, if I go there and I do have the internet, um, I will be sitting on a couple of bar stools in an empty house. But how many of you going, do it anyway? So what do you think? Ah. Or we can just do Soul Sunday very quietly here at home. Oh, that's so interesting. Ned is saying, do what you want to do, so I'll do that anyway. Do what makes you comfortable. Yeah, but you know something? Sometimes being comfortable isn't fun, right? I am certain that the house is going to look totally different without all that furniture in it. So part of me thinks I might even do a bit of a broadcast live with my phone so I can walk around and show you this looked a whole lot different with a bed in it. You know? All right, so Jody says, do what makes you comfortable, but I think you sleep better at home and your sleep is super important. Okay, let me tell you what my thinking is, Jody. I don't want to leave the new place empty. So that's why I want to go there to sleep. I want activity there. I want to have lights on at night and things going on. That's my thinking. So Ned is saying, so true. I enjoy those days. Eating Chinese food on folding camping chairs, moving is part of it. Exactly. All right. So Isabel's saying the new place sounds exciting, but you'll be exhausted. I'm not doing the big move this week, Isabel. The big move doesn't happen until the 8th. I have rented the place for 1 month prior to owning it so that I can move stuff out of my closets there myself, so that I can move my glassware that I care about myself, so that I can move. Do you understand? Um, I want to go and clean it before, the state of the showers and the oven and stuff were not sort of the way I would like. So to me, I would like to go there and go clean the shower, with large amounts of bleach, and toilets and things, and the fridge possibly. But I want to actually start setting up. I want to take. This is my plan. I don't know if you saw my blog that I did yesterday, but my plan is literally I'm going to take a bag of stuff out of this cupboard, put it in the car, get to the other side, and put it straight into the cupboard the other side. And I'm going to spend a month doing that. The stuff in the cupboards, not the stuff that I need the movers to move. You see, what I realized is you don't want boxes in there when the movers are coming in with the big stuff. But what I can do is anything that is now in a cupboard can go into a cupboard at the new place without messing the movers at all. The other thing is you're probably thinking where you're going to sit, where you're going to sleep. Remember two things. One is I bought the futon as part of the house, so I've got somewhere to sleep. The other thing is, remember, I bought the garden furniture and there were 2 complete sets of it. And one of it is a really nice little couch and 2 chairs and some tables. So I've actually got a couch I can sit on. I'm just going to drag it inside and warm it up a bit. Camping. Yeah, Jody's saying that makes sense too, having activity and lights on. Yes, I just, you know, I don't, I just don't want it to be empty. And that's, mind you, if it's empty, they got nothing to steal, but they could vandalize it. So I don't think it's that kind of area. Yeah. Indoor camping. Yeah. And how many of you want to see me going, I forgot the cream, you or it would have been a good idea, coffee maker. You see, I think it's, and I think in that it will be challenging and also a good idea because it's really going to be what do we call it? Testing my endurance and working up to. I'm going to confirm the movers today as well. All right, so Jody's got a list going on for what you need for the first few days. All right, so I've actually. Have you seen the containers that I've got already loaded up, Jody? So run down your list. No, I've got to go. But seriously, we will talk about these things and tonight maybe. And we'll get everybody's input what I need. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Thank you for being with me and discussing what was a really interesting subject. Nyasha, if you listen to this is because you asked for it, and we thank you for it because it really helped all of us see not only do we suffer from people manipulating us, but we also have done it and we're trying to improve on that. Yeah, I've got toilet paper and paper towels came to mind. I don't think I put paper towels in, but toilet paper was one of the first things I put in. And light bulbs, because I've had it happen where I've moved to a new place and the last person took all the light bulbs. So I'm taking light bulbs with me. I only get caught on that once. So Jody, thank you again for all the research that you did. You did an awesome job. And definitely you totally understood what I needed and provided it and made my life so much easier today. And for that, I just don't have words to thank you, except to say you did great job. Cleaning supplies I've got toilet paper, coffee pot, coffee pots in, but take the cream. I need to take the cream. All right, everybody. We'll see you tonight at 7:00. This is DearMamaSal saying, I got things to do. Bye-bye for now.